Let's look at a problem in perfectly competitive market. Assume the Australian beer industry is perfectly competitive. All firms, all breweries have upward sloping short-run marginal cost curve and U-shaped average cost curve, the standard U-shaped cost curve. A. Illustrate the initial equilibrium for the beer industry and for individual firms, showing the equilibrium market price, quantity, firms quantity. Explain how each firm determines its labor output and why each firm earns zero profit in equilibrium. So we're going to have two diagrams. One is market diagram. So downward sloping demand curve, upward sloping supply curve. So this market supply curve is the sum of each individual firm's supply curve. Equilibrium is at point E, so which at price of PO, quantity of big QO. And we also have individual firms diagram. So firms in the perfectly competitive market, firms are small compared with the market. They can sell as many as they want at the market price. So the demand they are faced with is a horizontal at the market price. So that's the MR curve, PO. And we also have this average cost, average variable cost, marginal cost. And you want to know that the marginal cost cuts through the minimum points of average cost and average variable costs. So firm follow MI equal to MC, so produce like this point, this called little e, that corresponds to a quantity of QO. So you should know that this little e is the minimum point of average cost curve, and it's also intersection point of MC and AC. So you can see that here profit firms, the profit that is a firm earns is zero. And the number of firms N is big QO divided by little QO, assuming that firms are symmetrics. Okay. Why? So we are in the long run situation. Then why the firms earn zero profit is because of free entry and exit. So if there's a positive profit, more firms will enter the market. Let's shift the supply curve to the right, reduce the price, and vice versa. All right, so this is A, the initial equilibrium. Okay, B. Now assume that the government introduces a beer tax. On the industry diagram, illustrate what happens to the consumer and producer price. Experience illustrates how firms will respond to the price change, and what will profit be, and is there any circumstance under which the firm will choose to shut down the production in the short run. Okay, so now we have a beer tax. So we need to put tax into the market diagrams. The simplest way to put tax is to say that tax drive wage between supply and demand, as in show here. So this is tax. So drop wage between supply and demand. So now market equivalent quantities dropped from Q0 to Q1, and consumer pair price of P consumer price, which is higher than the price that producer receive. So the difference is tax rate. So this is tax. Okay, for firms, they receive a producer price. So now the margin, which is lower than the price before the tax. So now the new marginal revenue. So this is P. The marginal revenue curve drops, and firms still follow MI equal to MC, so which is the intersection point here. So they want to produce Q1. So now the total revenue is O. Let me call this F, little f, or PPFQ1. Okay. So what's the total cost? Go from quantity up to the average cost curve, read out the average cost. So now we see that now this firm is making profit, making loss, profits negative. So with tax, producer price drops. Before the tax, producer price is the same as consumer price, which is equal to PO. So marginal revenue drops for firms. Output drops from Q0 to Q1, and the profit is negative. In my particular drawing here, so now still firms can still cover the variable cost. So you go from quantity up to the average variable cost. We can see that total revenue is still bigger than the variable cost. So in such cases, firms will not shut down. So not shutting down. Okay, if the producer price drops to be very slow, such that a firm's revenue cannot cover the variable cost, then they will shut down. Alright, so let's see what is the long-run effect on consumer and producer prices, firms' industry output, and firm profit. Okay, I'm going to use different colors. Blue. Okay, so now in the long run, some firm exit because of negative profit. So this supply curve shift left, shift in this direction. So it must shift such that every firms earn zero economic profit again, which means producer price now is equal to P0. Okay, so tax rate here. So let me call S1. So this PO is the new producer price, and P prime C, the new consumer price, is higher than before. And now given that producer received the PO price, their firms will increase their output from Q0 to Q1. output and output. Go back to Q. QO. So now the new firm in what new number firm is, let me call this big Q2 over little QO. Okay, so this is less than Q1 over little q1. This is equal to QO over QO. Okay. Alright, that's a graphical analysis of these perfect competitions, perfectly competitive beer market.